10 a.m., some places 9 a.m., some places 11 a.m. But yeah, welcome everyone and hope you're, don't worry about the camera if you can, if it's good. If not, don't worry. Good to see everyone, but yes, we will be then presenting. So yeah, you can be easy. Okay, I'm seeing a lot of people entering. We'll wait a little bit more, and then we'll just start with the. Okay. Okay, then just not to be late with our agenda, I'm just gonna go a little quickly about this event. I'm Silvana Sanfeliu Jaimo. I'm working in Fondazione Piemonte Innova in Italy, and we are coordinating the Do Impact project, which is the one organizing this event. We are really happy to have you all here and to have this interest from your side in what we're organizing. Some of you have already actually participated to the previous events. Some others are new, so welcome everyone. This is actually the fourth Transnational Capacity Building Workshop that we're organizing as a project. And the topics that we are tackling today are related to social impact measurement through digitalization and data use. This is an online workshop, as well you're aware of.
Silvana, we lost you. Sorry.
Yeah, I just got. Okay, do you got me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I just saw the pop-up activating the audio. Okay, so I was telling about the event. Is the fourth event that we're organizing that is open to European entities working on and interested in the social economy topics. We're tackling the topics related to digitalization and data use within the social economy, and how, of course, you can benefit from tools in order to enhance your work and your day-to-day activities. Today, we're focusing on the social impact measurement. We're having a full-time agenda, but before starting, I wanted to just talk to you a little bit about the project, which is thanks to which you are able to participate to these events free of charge in this case. So the idea is for us, we're building this path for you based on information that we gather directly from social enabling and social economy enabling organizations, and also small and medium enterprises. So the consortium, so behind the scenes, let's say, who is working and who is getting to define these activities. We have a group of different entities from different European projects. We're covering all Europe related to the social economy topics with the DSIS network. Then we're from Fondazione Piemonte Innova coordinating the project. We are more on digitalization topics. We have Torino Social Impact, which is also co-organizing today. They're working the social impact, as it says in the topic. It's in Italy too. Then we have the Cluster Digital de Catalunya and Tabla del Tercer Sector, which are two entities from Catalonia working on digitalization and social economy. We have the Social Entrepreneurship Association from Latvia, working on these topics too, and also the Lithuanian Social Business Association, Lithuania. Then we have also the Politecnico de Milano with the Teresa Research Group, which is also a partner, focusing, again, this is more research-driven, but in the social economy and impact. And then we have Companion, which is in Sweden, also working on the social economy topics. So together we have developed this strategy, just really quickly so you know where you are. The strategy is aimed to the social economy enabling organizations all over Europe, the European Union, and some other countries that are, linked to it. And also to small and medium companies, let's say entities working on the social economy topics. So we try to separate a little bit the topics. We have these transnational workshops, which are open around Europe, so you can interact between different nations, different entities, and open, let's say, mainly to social economy enabling organizations, but also we are having the opportunity to interact with different entities working on digitalization, working on specific topics, and so on. There are 8 transnational workshops. This is the 4th one, as we were mentioning. At the end of the event, we'll tell you which are the next ones coming. And then we also have the local workshops. So in the countries that I mentioned before that are included in the project, we are organizing these moments online and or in person, when we are also tackling more specific tools, more specific things linked to what we learn in the transnational workshops. Those are open especially for small and medium entities that are working in the social economy sector, but also to enabling organizations such as you to be able to, let's say, to address the topics that we're tackling in a more operative, let's say, way. The topics that we defined were, of course, as many of you know, linked to information that we gathered throughout last year. The first event was actually in spring of last year. So in order to do so, we launched a survey around Europe. We are all representing the social economy and or the digitalization topics. So we were all building up this path. And we are really happy to have you here, to be interested. And of course, your feedback is super important. So also at the end of the event, you'll get a quick feedback online. But yeah, just for you to please leave us that because it helps us a lot. So today, who are we? Let's say within the consortium, we divided a little bit the different topics based on our own experiences. And this is actually organized, this event, specifically this workshop, by the Italian partners. As I was mentioning we are 3 partners from Italy. Fondazione Piemonte Innova, that's me, together with my colleagues that are present here also, Francesca, Anna, and Valeria. We are an entity that is tackling digitalization to transition and sustainable innovation. So focus on innovation applied to different fields. We've been working with public entities, with private entities, with the social economy sector, with other sectors such as manufacturing, mobility, and etc. But all, let's say, going towards a better use of digital tools and a better also understanding and use of data build up and gather within the organizations. I'm going to go to present then Politecnico di Milano Tiresia, because then I will give the word to Torino Social Impact. And Tiresia, as I was mentioning, is a research and knowledge center for the impact economy. They're based in Milan, and their focus is on social innovation. So if you have participated to our previous events, you may have had the chance and luck to hear from our partner project, Federico Bartolomucci, who has talked about this, about what they're doing and about data and how important it is. And today we will hear a little bit more also through them. Then I'll give the word to Torino Social Impact, Jacopo, to present yourself.
Yeah. Hello to everyone. First of all, I'm Jacopo Bottacchi. I will be your host for today. And I'm here representing Torino Social Impact. And with me, there is also my colleagues Alessia Ibba and Irene Mariodocco. And just a really short and quick presentation about what Torino Social Impact is. As you can read here, we are an alliance among companies, public and private institutions, and we always say that the aim is to make Turin one of the best places in the world to do business and finance together, pursuing pursuing the social value in our activities, basically. So we are a very diverse platform with organizations ranging from all different sectors of social economy and different sizes, different, let's say, structure, but with the same purpose, basically. And that's who we are. And but not, I don't want to waste and spend your time talking about us, but we want to start with today's agenda. And so the welcome is over, and we can start with the first activity. And so we have here with us Professor Mario Calderini, who is professor at the Politecnico di Milano, and he is also the spokesperson for Torino Social Impact. So if we have Professor Mario Calderini, the floor is yours, please.
Thank you, and good morning, everybody. I'm delighted to welcome you to this session. And yes, I'm the key person of Torino Social Impact, and I will try to give my perspective on as a way of introduction of the main issues that I believe make of data and data integration issue one of the key advancements and perspectives in social entrepreneurship. This is going to be about impact measurement, of course, data and impact measurement, but also data as a source, as a key ingredient, as a raw material for new models of social entrepreneurship. So I would go for four main areas that I would like to cover in order to give you some ideas for the next discussion. And these are the four pillars that I think are crucial and most relevant for understanding the potential and the role that data and artificial intelligence, of course, is going to play in terms of boosting and nurturing new forms of social entrepreneurship. Let me start with a first statement. That is my first point. And my first point is that we need to come to terms with the fact that the quality of talking about impact measurement, the quality of theory and the quality of algorithm that we have today is far better than the quality of data that we have available. And this is a main issue, and this is a main limitation. And I think that any effort that we are producing to incrementally improve the quality of theory and the quality of data is vain and useless, given the quality of data that we have available. So there is one imperative agenda that we have ahead of us, and that is to make the quality of data in terms of integrity, in terms of availability, in terms of granularity, much better than the data that we have used so far in impact measurement. So I think that we should share a principle, and the principle is we should refrain from sophisticating the quality of algorithm and the quality of theory in impact measurement until we have a proportional quality of data. This is not only because it's useless to apply algorithm, to apply very sophisticated algorithm and theory to bad data, but also because it's an intellectual sin. It's a source of intellectual scam to sell out very sophisticated impact measurement algorithm where the quality of data is not adequate and proportional to the ambition of the impact measurement exercise. So this is the first point. So my second point would be, yes, so what shall we do in order to overcome this problem and in order to improve the quality of data? So first of all, I think that, well, of course, there is a huge problem of data availability. So we know that we lack infrastructure, both physical infrastructure, digital infrastructure, but most importantly, governance infrastructures. So we are still very poor, and we need a lot of advancements in the field of governance infrastructure, namely private partnerships agreements or schemes of agreements and public-private schemes of agreements and public-public schemes of agreements in order to build and to set up data lakes that are apt to collect and gather the data that we need and to make them interoperable. But this is not the only problem. You know that there is a lot of research going on new governance structures. There is a lot of work going on, for example, about data altruism and data cooperatives. And I think that the research is advancing very fast in this field. But my real concern today, in order to improve the quality of data, in order to make it available and suitable to really effective impact measurement exercises, the problem is data assurance. And the real area that we need to think or to seriously think of is data assurance. Data assurance is a huge problem, not only as far as social entrepreneurship, strictly speaking, is concerned, but in general. For example, I would say that the crisis, the backlash that we have been witnessing during 2025 against ESG metrics and the ESG grammar is strictly related to the lack of data assurance. Namely, that we understood that the data that are used to measure ESG performance, that, by the way, is the driver of allocation of something like $45,000 billion. So it's a quite relevant grammar. So these numbers are almost random numbers. And as it has been demonstrated by several papers that appeared in the Harvard Business Review in the last 2 years. And why is that? Well, there are two explanations that we need to think of very carefully. The first one is quite trivial and easy, and it is the lack of standard. And the lack of standardization is, of course, one problem, but I wouldn't say it is the major problem. The major problem is the absence of a control governance structure. So, to make it the long story very simple, we know that with financial numbers, we still have problems, and sometimes financial numbers are not as reliable as we would like them to be. But for sustainability or social impact or environmental impact related issue, the situation is even worse. And it is worse because in financial numbers, at the end of the day, we have internal auditing, we have external auditing, we have different ways and different governance infrastructure to check, verify the integrity of the numbers that are released and that are published. This is not yet entirely true for social impact or environmental impact related numbers. So I think that the next big thing in terms of data and impact measurement is data assurance. And this is something that we really need to think of with some degree of effort, let's say. Of course, we have data infrastructures, and the problem with data infrastructure is that this is something that is crucial for measurement. Data infrastructure means data lakes and interoperability schemes and access protocols and whatever is needed. But also, I think that before designing the actual digital infrastructure and the governance infrastructure, what we need to do is to think very seriously about the kind of granularity that we actually need in impact measurement, right? And the issue of granularity and data granularity is not yet particularly understood. Uh, of course, we have very sound theories of impact measurement, starting from the theory of change and everything. But at the end of the day, when you ask what is the kind of granularity that you need in order to, granularity means both geographically or both in terms of unit of analysis or both in terms of unit of problem. So the kind of granularity is still largely undefined. So we lack infrastructure, we lack common infrastructure where to gather data and to make data available, but also we lack some general guidelines about granularity. Who has to take care of these data? In Italy and in Torino Social Impact, we took a very clear choice, and that was a decision and our way to invest in data infrastructure and in the governance structure and in the institutional structure that is going to provide data infrastructure. We decided to start from a very plain historical consideration. And this historical consideration was what was the institution that was the custodian of the data when we understood that data were important for the economy. Who was the custodian? Which institution was the custodian of the standards? Which institution was the institution that was asked to provide a guarantee that when you get fuel at the gas station, when you get 1 liter of fuel of one station, the 1 liter is exactly 1 liter. The institution historically is the Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber of Commerce are there to provide standards, and historically they are there to provide standards for physical measures. Now, in an economy in which an intangible asset such as impact is becoming crucial, I think that the Chamber of Commerce could play again the role of providers of standards and providers of infrastructure and data. So providers of the general infrastructure and the general standard that allows the economy and the social economy in this case to work properly and to work smoothly. So it's not by chance that Torino Social Impact is promoted and is relying on the system of Chamber of Commerce, because we do think that Chamber of Commerce are the institutional infrastructure that is most suitable to provide the standards and the infrastructure that we need in terms of data. Of course, and this is my third point, of course, the other aspect, and it would be impossible to start this discussion with you without mentioning the new challenges that are posed by artificial intelligence and the data issues related to the use and the diffusion of artificial intelligence, also in impact measurement. My understanding today is that artificial intelligence is still far to deliver on its promises in terms of algorithm, in terms of ability to provide reliable impact measurement exercises. Where I see a huge role of artificial intelligence, of course, is in the provision of data, in data scraping, right? And it goes back to this point goes back to my previous point. I think that we need to connect the potential of artificial intelligence to the problem that I mentioned at the beginning of my speech. That was the amount and the quality of data is not enough to provide accurate impact measurement. I think that artificial intelligence is incredibly powerful and potentially disruptive in improving the quality and the amount of data through data scraping and every kind of application of artificial intelligence you may think of in terms of data and data gathering. So I think that we should put our best efforts to design artificial intelligence algorithms that are there to provide the data and not actually to process the data, because I think that in terms of data processing, artificial intelligence is not yet reliable enough to be used to measure such a delicate and crucial and problematic thing like impact measurement. So I think that data scraping and data gathering and the population of data lakes through artificial intelligence is the direction in which we should produce our best effort today. This is not to say that artificial intelligence is not important for impact measurement. We at Politecnico di Milano, but in many research centers all over the place, many researchers are putting a lot of effort in trying to use and understand how to use artificial intelligence for impact measurement. Artificial intelligence is very much a black box yet, and I think that we should not extensively use artificial intelligence for impact measurement until the ethical and moral aspect related to measuring such an important thing as social impact and social problems is sorted out. But it is clear to me that this is a very important direction, the use of artificial intelligence for impact measurement, for one specific reason. And the reason is that impact measurement in general got stuck in a sort of trap, in a sort of dichotomy that is really, really difficult to handle and to manage. And the dichotomy is that there is a very clear trade-off between massification of impact measurement exercises. So, for example, large consultancy companies used very superficial and routine-based measurement algorithm, but because, of course, they had to replicate in a very efficient way the impact measurement exercise. But of course, if you want to replicate and to make impact measurement very efficient, at the end of the day, you need to sacrifice depth. You need to trade off on depth. And at the end of the day, you need to have, on the one side, impact measurement tools that are efficient, that are cost effective, that you can routinely apply to in many different situations, but at the cost of depth and customization and tailor-made evaluations. On the other side, we have other ways and styles of impact measurement that are tailor-based, bespoke, customized, and of course, they are much deeper, much more meaningful, of course, but typically they are very inefficient in terms of time and cost and resource used. So at the end of the day, in the last 3 or 4 years, we found ourselves torn apart between these two extremes. On the one side, impact measurement exercises that were very cost-effective and easy to implement and routinized, and also comparable, because they were based on standards and routines. And on the other side, on the opposite side, we have impact measurement exercises that are not very cost-effective, but tailor-made, very precise, very suitable to capture the real impact delivery of the different organizations. This is a very clear trade-off that is still very, very hard to handle. I think that potentially in the future, not today, but artificial intelligence is the one thing that can help us to achieve the objective of mass customization in impact measurement. Mass customization means that you can replicate in a quite cost-effective way and in a routinized way impact measurement exercise without compromising on quality, on depth, and on meaningfulness of our exercises. And I think this is one other huge area of future development. Last remark, and then I conclude, is of course, leaving aside for a moment the question of impact measurements and let's say the relation between data management, artificial intelligence, and impact measurement. I think that today that the social economy is becoming a clear and central and crucial policy option in Europe, at least, in a continent like Europe, where the 27 member states have been asked by the European Commission to design and deliver their social economy action plan. I think that we need to think of data as the crucial ingredient and raw material for new social entrepreneurship models. I do think that, as you all know, there has been this very popular thing called impact investing. And in the last 10 years, we had this sort of obsession of finding ways to allocate and invest financial resources into social enterprises, which is certainly very important. The fact that we are able to allocate financial resources to social enterprises and make available important resources to social enterprises. But I think it is even more important that we are able to invest data in social enterprises. And the most important thing that we can make available to social enterprises is not money, but is data. Because I do think that with data, social enterprise, with a proper and solid data investment model, that means making data and data resources available to social enterprises will deliver two very important objectives. The first one is to make their model of intervention and their ability to deal with social problems much more effective. But on the other side, also, I think that the investment of data in companies is going to make the business model of the social enterprise, the business model of the social businesses, much more robust and much more economically sustainable. So I think that investing data in social enterprises is not only important because it makes the intervention model much more effective, but also because it is a way to convey financial resources to social enterprises. Because when social enterprises have data available, and so when we will have a sort of new asset class that is the data asset class, and professional investors that collect data and raise data and allocate data into social enterprises, we will have social enterprises that will have business models that are much more effective, also in economic terms, and this will make social enterprises much more able to generate revenues on the one side, and on the other side will make social enterprises much more investment ready. And so this is a virtuous circle that we could activate by promoting a new asset class, data investing, and a new set of professional investors that are able to invest money and data in social enterprises. And that was my last remark. Thank you very much.
Thanks to Professor Calderini for sharing his thoughts and his vision about the state of the art of impact measurement. And I just want to remember you, my colleague Alessia already wrote it in the chat, but I just want to remember you that if you have any question, please put it in the chat, of course, so we can go into the details after each participant speech or after each contribution. But I will not lose any more time, and I'm very glad. We are very glad to have the Cottino Social Impact Campus here with us. And I leave the floor to Caterina Rosini, who will present the second session of this morning. So she will discuss about the practical challenges of impact measurement after this first speech about a general vision. We will go into detail now into the practical challenges. So, Caterina, please, let's go. The floor is yours.
Yes, thank you. Let me share my screen so we can go through the presentation. Let me know if you're able to see my screen, but I think yes.
Yes, everything fine.
So thank you so much, and good morning to everyone. My name is Caterina Rosini. I'm a sustainability and impact expert, and I work at the Cottino Social Impact Campus, where I am primarily involved in applied research project and consulting on social impact measurement or issues. And part of my work also involves designing customized training content tailored to client needs and managing also a Cevis community, which I will discuss shortly. Today, we'll be exploring the key challenges in measuring impact, focusing on the complexities and methodology used in this field. So I will introduce briefly the Cottino Social Impact Campus and Cevis, and then the concept of impact, just to align the concept for this platea and the challenges we face in measuring and in methods. So along with the critical issues they present according both to the methodologies and on the impact measurement process. So the Cevis is the Competence Center for Impact Assessment and Measurement, and is dedicated to advancing the culture and practices of the social impact. It was established in collaboration with the Turin Chamber of Commerce and the Cottino Foundation as a part of the Turin Social Impact Strategic Plan. It aims to be a network, as you can see from the scheme, of both private and public entities, and profit and non-profit, including also the universities, research centers, and associations from various sectors of the economic and social landscapes. The Cottino Social Impact, the Cottino Social Impact Campus and Cevis, providing different kind of activities. For example, Cevis organizes peer-to-peer meetings with and workshops also for professional updates and sharing experiences, fostering collaborative learning and networking. Selects and try to implement also relevant project demonstrating best practices in impact measurement, either directly or in collaboration with spokes and fellows of our ecosystem, and also keeps professionals updated on the latest impact measurement innovations by aligning academic and practical content, ensuring ongoing relevance. And also, Cevis manages knowledge repository that you can find in our website, updates on legislative innovations, and shares best practices through media relations and social media to continuously raise awareness of impact measurement. So you can actually today we have 53 members in our community, and we organize 4 peer-to-peer annual meetings in order to share the knowledge about impact and implement and advance also the techniques for measuring and evaluating impact with the contribution of all of members of our community. If you want, you can see our activities through our website or in our webpage. But now it's time to go more in deep of our presentation of today. So let me briefly express what does impact mean. So impact refers to the long-term environmental and economic and social effects and changes generated in a community or in a territory as a result of an intervention or project or even a policy. Importantly to say is that impact is not just about short-term or mid-term outcomes, but sustainable changes over time. So today, measuring impact is essential for organizations, not only to demonstrate their responsibility, but also to attract investor, create valued ecosystem, engage stakeholders, and also create, of course, positive social change. There is today no single approach adopted globally that all subjects can refer to for managing and measuring impact, but we will see different kind of methods according also to different goals. I would like also to to express the 3 main characteristics about impact. The first one is the intentionality, so the explicit desire to incorporate the research for a solution to a community problem or to a complex problem, and the generation of a positive social impact into the business or a project model or even a policy. The measurability, so is the ability to report on the proposed social solution in qualitative and quantitative terms, and the additionality, so the commitment to providing something more than business as usual, addressing areas where market mechanism fail or only partially function. So we can read the impact by these key features, and we can say that intentionality is the result of a specific strategic decision. Measurability, because impact must be linked to specific indicators, both qualitative and quantitative. And with additionality, we can say that impact indicates an additional commitment compared to business as usual or market as usual. I would like also in this presentation provide you an overview about the GIN challenges. GIN is the Global Impact Investing Network. So they provide a report every year in which try to frame the main challenges at the industry and organizational level. And as you can see from this scheme, the leading challenge for the industry at the 62% of surveyed investors was impact washing. Moreover, we have a clear guidance, and regulation was the next biggest challenge. And investors also struggle with fragmentation, with the 31% identified fragmentation as an issue at the industry level, compared to the 39% feeling it was an issue at the both industry and organizational level. Then we have also an issue regarding the comparison of impact results, because it's very difficult due to the impossibility to have a global approach used to assess the impact challenges. And also some challenges regarding the data-related challenges. Sorry, investors also provide insights into data-related. For example, the cost of the cost of submitting, collecting, and analyzing, and also understanding impact performance. And also the time needed to collect this data were cited as the most significant challenges. The also quality of data was a challenge for a large majority of investors, and so the accurate data collection, we can see that is one of the biggest challenges because gathering reliable data, especially in diverse and changing environments, requires significant efforts and resources. So why impact matters, why we are talking about impacts. Basically because today, in this rapidly changing world, organization can no longer afford to simply react, okay? But they must be able to anticipate and understand trends and also navigate uncertainty. So by applying a data-driven approach to impact measurement, organization can create an evidence-based strategy that shape future scenarios and drive also informed decision. So impact is not just about understanding what happens today in 3 years or 5 years, but is about using that knowledge to build a more sustainable and effective future. Now, I provide a very brief and shortly overview of the main methods about the impact measurement. So, as we can say before, there is no single globally adopted methodology for impact measurement, and this leads to fragmentation and confusion, as we can see from the skin of gene network. Additionally, traditional methods often focus on measurable, potentially overlooking qualitative impacts that are equally important. So every one of these methods has a specific role, and the choice depends on our goals. Let me start from the synthetic methods. One example is the social return on investment, the SROI, which converts social and environmental impacts into monetary terms, helping to demonstrate the value created relative to investment and making impacts comparable. But even in this case, we have some barriers and critical issues because, for example, the difficulty in quantifying intangible impacts, because many social or environmental impacts, such as, for example, the improved psychological well-being or the creation of social cohesion, are difficult to translate into precise monetary values or proxy in the case of SROI. The complexity also in collecting accurate data, because the process requires accurate and reliable data on various indicators, which can be difficult to obtain, especially in complex contexts. And also an overgeneralization. That means the need to aggregate different types of impacts can lead to oversimplification, maybe losing some important nuances in what we want to collect and demonstrate. The second category of methods are the counterfactual one. For example, the RTCs is another rigorous method, the randomized controlled trial, which is used to establish causal links between the intervention and its outcomes or impacts by comparing a treatment group to a control group. Even in this case, we face, for example, high high cost and logistical complexity, because the design and implementation of this kind of methods are resource intensive, requiring significant time and expense to collect and analyze data. Even in this case, generalizability issues, because are often conducted in controlled environments or with specific groups, which can limit the ability to apply the result maybe in other type of context or population, and also the ethics, because in some cases the use of a control groups that does not benefit from an intervention may raise ethical issues, especially in some specific sector, as for example health and or education. Then we can talk about narrative methods, as, for example, stories, but also qualitative interviews and focus group, and allow us to collect, in this case, very rich and qualitative data directly from beneficiaries, providing insight into their experiences and perceptions of intervention in a very qualitative way. But even in this case, we face barriers, for example, the subjectivities, because the results obtained through these methods are highly subjective, which can compromise the possibility of generalizing or comparing data in a quantitative way. Then the researcher and participant bias, because the way questions are phrased or stories are set, and the influence that the researcher might have on the responses can distort the result. In addition, also participants may respond in a socially desirable manner rather than expressing their honest opinion. And also, even in this case, time and resources, because collecting, analyzing, and interpreting qualitative data requires a considerable investment of time and resources, which may limit its feasibility, in this case, in a large-scale project. The accounting methods, instead, for example, the GRI standards are widely used for sustainability reporting, often offering structured guidelines to assess and report on social, environment, and governance impact. But even in this case, the GRI reporting requires a large set of data from different sources, which can be difficult to coordinate and collect, especially for maybe small businesses or, for example, no-profit organization. The standardization versus local context, in this case, is a critical issue, because the indicators used for reporting, such as the SDGs, may not perfectly reflect the local or a sectoral reality, and this makes it difficult to apply the same standards to different contexts. And also, at the end, preparing a report, in this case, that complies with GRI standards required times and specialist skills, which can be burdensome for organizations with limited resources. Finally, the logical methods. For example, the theory of change is a useful logical method that help us to map the pathways through which our activities will lead to the desired outcomes or impact in a long-term vision. But even in this case, we have the critical issues of the dependence on assumption, because theory of change is based on a series of assumptions about the mechanism of change. And if these assumptions are incorrect or unrealistic, the intervention may not produce the expected impact. And at the end, the difficulty in measurement, because although the theory of change provides a clear view of the stage of change, measuring each step and outcome and impact effectively can be complex and require a variety of assessment tools that we should integrate each other. So, as I said before, every method has its critical issues, but we can decide also to integrate more than one method to address our specific goals. And every impact measurement methodology, whether it be more rigorous as the counterfactual one or more narrative tools and qualitative, has its role to play in addressing the complex challenges associated with social impact. However, all methodologies face the difficulties of measuring something as dynamic and multifaceted as impact. So making a flexible approach, maybe it's better to address, as I said before, our goals and our intention in what we want to produce as a quality values. So challenges in impact are inevitable and go far beyond simple data collection. In this slide, we can see different challenges regarding the process of measuring impact. So phenomena such as the death weight, for example, the impact that would have occurred anyway, and the attribution, so a direct linking change to intervention, highlight the complexity of isolating real effects. Furthermore, situations such as displacement and spillovers, so the effects that spread outside the target area, show how impacts can extend in ways that are difficult very often to predict and measure. And added to these difficulties are more structural issues such as drop-off, the reduction of impact over time, and the risk of unintended negative impacts, which complicate long-term monitoring. Furthermore, externalities, so the effects that influence subject outside the intervention, are particularly difficult to capture. In summary, impact measurement required a deep understanding of methodology limitation and a continuous reflection on how to improve in approaches to make them more comprehensive and effective in assessing the social changes generating. After this, we arrive at the last slide of our presentation, in which I try to provide an holistic overview, a systemic view of the main challenges in impact measurement, because even when we talk about the criticalities about methods or the challenges about the process of measuring and assessing impact, we can find and highlight these how these challenges are not methodological, but also deeply embedded in the process of evaluating a complex social change. So at the core of this visual narrative are five interconnected critical issues represented as hexagonals. And the first is measurement challenges that reflect the difficulty of assessing outcomes in complex long-term community initiatives where change unfolds over time and across multiple dimensions. This set the scene for all subsequent challenges. So closely connected is the issues of causality, established so the clear links between intervention and observed outcomes and impact remain one of the most persistent difficulties in impact evaluation, and social change rarely follows the linear path. So makes attribution methodological demanding. At the center, we have the evidence definition, because this highlights the lack of standards of shared understanding of what constitutes evidence of impact, so valid and credible evidence of impact. And this ambiguity affects both methodological choice and the comparability of result across project, organization, policy, and sectors. Then the challenge of data balance. So data balance points to the difficulty of integrating different kind of qualitative and quantitative data in a meaningful way. And while quantitative data supports very often rigor and comparability, even with its critical issues, sorry, qualitative data captures deep context and lived experience. Okay. Finally, stakeholder complexity underscore how multi-actor ecosystem and multiple levels of intervention complicate evaluation process. So different stakeholders bring diverse expectation, power dynamics, and definition of success, and all of which elements influence how impact is measured, interpreted, and communicated. So taken together, this image conveys a key message, that impact measurement is not just a technical exercise, but it's a complex, iterative process that requires methodological rigor and also contextual awareness and continuous negotiation between evidence, meaning, and decision making. These challenges explain why no single method to date can fully capture impact, and why also fruitful combination of approaches aligned with purpose and context are essential. So, as key points in conclusion, measuring impact is essential but complex, and each methodology has its strengths and challenges, and we must be mindful of the limitations of each approach. Its impact measurement, again, is not just about numbers, it's about understanding the real changes of our intervention, making and ensuring that we are accountable and transparent in our action. So with this slide, I finish my intervention. Thank you for your attention, and if you have some question, I will find it in the chat. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Caterina. And if there are no questions at this time, maybe there will be later when we go into further details on the topics itself. And I will leave the floor to Professor Paolo Biancone from the University of Turin for our third without the welcome session of the morning. So we will discuss with Professor Biancone how to teach social impact assessment. So Professor, the floor is yours, please.
Thank you so much. I bring you the greetings of Professor Biancore, but he's just going because the dean of our school I want to talk him at this moment. So sorry for that, but given that we are in our university, in our office, obviously everything can be, let me say, in real life. Before starting, let me say a big thank you to all of you Jacopo, all the team for sure for organizing this moment, and all the colleagues, all the people that create this opportunity to be online with all of you. I can for sure represent what Professor Biancone once basically said. I have also with the other colleagues basically a presentation that aims to almost show you what are the main activities that we perform in terms of social impact assessment, and particular in terms of didactics activity. This presentation is shared obviously by Professor Biancone, by me, and also by the colleague Professor Federico Lanzalonga that will continue later. So first of all, what does it mean in our view teaching social impact assessment? Before saying what we do and what we did in the past in terms of social impact assessment, I would like to remark what is the approach that we try to add in the past and to have also now for sure in the present, because I think it's extremely interesting for colleagues, for friends, for people who are following this webinar also outside our city, our environment. So first of all, we create basically a specific course, a professional course in terms of social impact assessment, but we don't did alone, but we did in a strong and powerful ecosystem. The strong ecosystem is basically launched by the Chamber of Commerce of Turin, in particular Torino Social Impact. The course, our online course, was born basically in 2020. So now we have several editions, let me say, before this new edition that will be the 7th for this year. And we did basically to bring together several skills in an environment that as for sure said before by Professor Calderini, and also said now by the Cotino Social Impact Campus, in basically an ongoing environment. So the idea of the course is to bring together public, private sector together, but also join profit and non-profit organizations to discuss, to disseminate the most widely used methodology. We said previously that we do not have, let me say, a unique methodology. So our course basically had 6 past editions. The 7th is scheduled. We start again at the next 9 of February 2026 with the same powerful, with the same energy of the previous versions. We had we create an ecosystem with all the partners of 344 learners that in the past 6 editions follow our course. Acting in an ecosystem, it means that we launch the idea of the course, but we are not included entirely in the didactic of the course. This is, I think, a key challenge, for academic environment is extremely interesting that you launch something and then you exit for the didactic activities. But we did because we think that acting in an ecosystem that is basically represented majorly by these brands. So first of all, Torino Social Impact, the Chamber of Commerce, the Cotino Social Impact Campus, also the Polytechnique of Milan, for instance, with Tiresia, for instance, the professional order of chartered accountants, or also other third sector actors as for instance, Il Nodo or Inforcop. So basically all of us bring their knowledge, bring their daily activities, including obviously also incubators, also accelerators, banking foundations, profit entities, public bodies, universities, and obviously etc. What was and what is our business model in terms of didactic activities? First, we start in presence in 2020, but soon we know that a black swan, it means the COVID-19 appear among us. And basically, we decide to move entirely for that year, but also for the next editions online. And now we are proudly only an online, basically professional course. I would like to say proudly because every year we start basically local because we, thanks to the ecosystem, we are able to include the different learners in the Turing landscape. But the online edition, the online opportunity, obviously can give us the opportunity to enrich our learners and also try to obtain a national reach in that sense. So that's why we are probably, and I remark the online mode. What about the programs, and what about the hours of the course? Basically, our online course is structured in 125 hours. It is not a master itself, is basically a course for practitioners that aims to scale up the knowledge in a particular focus, and the focus is for sure the social impact assessment. In this number of hours, we have almost 40 lecture style teaching, 40 hours in terms of lecture style teaching, and the rest, 85, is all represented by group activities and at the same time by the individual study of learners. Another interesting perspective that I want to bring to you is basically by the fact that the University of Turin, as organizer of this course, launch and join in an international basically project, which is the best project that give the opportunity to all the learners to obtain a digital badge. This digital badge basically extend and aims to declare all the capabilities that with the course learners are able to achieve, and obviously are able at the same time to use in the future. So we in our course we talk about for sure social impact assessment, but we talk about also sustainability, for instance, movement in our market, for sure, within the European countries. We also talk about the measurement of social impact, and at the same time, we also try to apply social impact assessment methodologies in the different group basically activities. So this approach obviously give us the opportunity also to share digital, and I remark this basically this element because it's also one of the key topic of today's basically workshop. The digital badge allow, for instance, the sharing in the most common used social media. So people, colleagues can share using their LinkedIn profile. So this is for sure an opportunity to enlarge the reach of the course, in particular to enlarge the opportunity to share the social impact assessment and all the elements, all the topics that we consider in. A part of this course, obviously, our main purpose is also to understand, and I read now the chat, so I'm able to share the link that I'm showing a couple of seconds ago. And this is a perfect, I think, the link between this kind of technology adopted for didactic activities to link our speech And to move into the second part, it means methodologies and digital tools for impact, basically measurement. I try to basically to give to you a sort of holistic overview of what is happening in terms of particular generative AI. And what, in our opinion, generative AI can really add to social impact basically evaluation. So the first question that we pose is why impact measurement still needs good or bad methods, depending on what you apply. For sure, we try to apply theories. We try to enrich the value of the inputs that we have, mapping, for instance, activities, mapping outputs, mapping for sure also outcomes, and finally we try to absolutely extract the impact of our activities. What does it mean? It means that for sure we apply in our social impact assessment typically mixed methodologies. So we apply qualitative data, we have quantitative data, but we all know that we also apply some, let me say, some activities results. So we also use, for instance, administrative data. Obviously, we are humans, so we control all the phases. We try to gather the data. We try to arrive to the data with interviews, with focus group, or with other, for sure, elements. And in this process, a new interesting technological wave is with us because, as you probably know, as you probably also use, I am sure, the generative artificial intelligence is with us, and obviously basically have the opportunity to reduce the time in analyzing the data, and also for sure in considering these elements. At the same time, generative AI different from replacement. What does it mean? It means that to use generative AI, we need first of all to design all the process, and this for sure cannot be alone without a strong preparation in terms of social impact measurement, social impact indexes. So the first block is a knowledge of the topic for sure, and then with the generative AI, we can almost change the design, the process in which we calculate, let me say, in which we report our social impact assessment, obviously with a human oversight. It means that the process that also in the social impact assessment is improving, it's powerful, is the process named human in the loop. It means that humans are using a different tool. So we are used to use, for instance, in some cases, softwares, or in some other cases, we use a Word file, Excel file, Power BI, as in a couple of minutes you can see. But in some cases, you also use paper-based indicators, paper-based elements. Okay, so the main key issues is to put and to act according to this human in the loop process. So we have different tools, and we control the tools, mixing together quantitative and qualitative data. Obviously, what could be a simple workflow in this sense? So first of all, we need to learn. This is not here. As you can see, we have this bullet point, but the learning process is for sure one of the necessary elements before starting with the planning phase. It means planning phase, it means analyzing the context, try to draft questions, indicators, obviously create a review board that is able to, for sure, review the indicators, review the elements. It's absolutely most important in several social impact assessment projects, particularly when the projects include more than one stakeholder in that sense. Obviously, the second phase is to collect, so it means translate, adapt surveys, asking questions, taking results. In this sense, generative AI is extremely interesting because help us in the collection of the data, help us, I would like to say, also in create a state of the art of what we have in that sense. And then the most important element is also the understanding phase. Understand it means try to create partners, try to find outliers in all the data that we had, and at the same time, obviously create group teams from interviews. And it's something similar what in our research we apply as a coding analysis. So understanding, it means understand what we collect previously. And then the last step in this really simple workflow is the sharing activity. Sharing, it means writing short summaries. It means show limits and show also next steps of the social impact assessment. In this part, generative AI approaches are extremely powerful because they are able to generate text, short text, long text. They are able, let me say, to do the tools for instance, a firm or a third sector, for instance, firm to, for instance, asking funds, asking financing elements, because it's able to sum up what we plan, what we collect, and for sure also what we understand. Pros and cons in that sense, for sure, using generative AI is at the same time the same image to drive a Ferrari car. Why? Because we need to keep safe, and particularly we need to keep fair. Privacy first, it means that pay attention on the data that you put in a generative AI software or obviously website. You need to create a process with different roles. And at the same time, we need to cope with the Artificial Intelligence Act of the European Union. And then at the same time, also some nations, as for instance, for the Italian government, we have also national rules for the use of artificial intelligence, and in that sense, also generative AI. Pay attention on the data that you upload, absolutely, but at the same time, track accuracy. Don't obviously remember the human in the loop process, not the generative AI process, but human in the loop. And at the same time, this is a requirement, obviously, that our Italian rules now asking is the transparency. So we need to note where artificial intelligence, generative or not, was used and who reviewed it. So also in the social impact assessment, we are arriving in a sort of audit assurance process. This is particularly interesting also to study, also to apply, but for sure, don't try to remember, keep it safe and keep it for sure fair. So we try in a couple of minutes to fix some point, to fix some simple processes, to fix some rules in terms of privacy. But what are these generative AI approaches, and obviously what can do one generative AI tool or model than another one? So if we analyze the market of generative AI today, probably yesterday when we create the slide, we know that the major player is the OpenAI. The OpenAI obviously includes some models, for instance, actually One of the model most developed is the 5.2 thinking. Obviously, this model is interesting for the strong summary powerful that the model have. So it also is able to perform a calculation in that sense. If you, for instance, use quantitative indicators to track the social impact, we have for sure positive or negative connotation. Just to give you an idea, the social return on investment, you can apply, you can decide to do not apply, but obviously the use of generative AI approaches allow the calculation for sure, including and considering basically the human in the loop process. So we need to basically distinguish between a thinking model and not thinking model. Obviously, the thinking model are able to create and allow us a complex triangulation across mixed evidence of social impact assessment. So they can basically guide us step by step with qualitative synthesis, obviously with the human review in case of interviews, in case of, for instance, focus group. And at the same time, they are also able, why not, to provide calculations in terms of quantitative, for sure, social impact assessment indexes. So OpenAI is one of the major now in the market, but as you probably know, the market is changing a lot and is changing fastly. So new, for instance, new models, a new tool are with us. So we may also be interested in Claude. Claude is the model of Anthropic, and Claude is extremely powerful in writing, and particularly in reading and writing concise or also long summaries. This is one of the key issue, and the second issue is also its integration with the Microsoft Excel. So if you use for instance, to track social impact assessment data with Microsoft Excel, you can link, you can join also Claude so that it can, let me say, analyze immediately what is included in the Microsoft Excel file. We know another interesting tool is Gemini. Gemini is the Google model of the generative AI, and Gemini obviously is included in the Google platform, and at the same time, what I can suggest to you also to learn and also to use generative AI, also to learn, let me say, how to do social impact assessment is Notebook LLM, which is a platform that allows basically to study, to create slides, to create podcasts immediately and really, really in a couple of minutes. So this tool, in our opinion, is perfect for didactics activities and to self-learning, we would like to say. Moving from the US part of generative AI and moving in China, we have DeepSeek, which is the open reasoning model of DeepSeek. Obviously, is an extremely low cost model. It's reasoning, so it can, for sure, it can think as the previous one. So it's really, really interesting. We have also some other generative AI tools, as for instance, Copilot. Copilot is integrated in our Office package, so it can immediately draft surveys. It can immediately draft, for instance, ideas for indicators. Obviously, I would like to say this is interesting, not in the loop of social impact assessment, but to manage a social impact assessment. So before, for all the, let me say, for all the desk activities that you can do. And finally, last but not least, is Perplexity. Perplexity has, I think, one of the major characteristics. Basically, Perplexity includes all the models that we previously mentioned. So Perplexity is a sort of supermarket. You can use the model of OpenAI, you can use the model of Claude, you can use the model of Gemini. So it includes several models. This is the business model of Perplexity, and is extremely interesting to perform quick literature review, really quick literature review analysis. So if you want to study, for instance, Perplexity is almost good in that sense, and is also good in showing. So in the phase of reporting, because Perplexity can do for you websites, could do, for instance, interactive dashboard as soon you have qualitative data or quantitative data, for instance, coming from your, let me say, for your analysis. Just to give an idea, and in addressing the question of Aneta, this is the tool. I just write here using the chat. This is the tool that I mentioned before, that is able to do slides and podcast. It is a notebook LLM. Is extremely powerful, and I would like to say is interesting, not for doing itself social impact assessment. This is my, let me say, my idea, but is extremely good for studying, is extremely good, I would like to say, to report after. So as soon we finish a social impact assessment, we can use this tool to report, to share what we are concluding, what we are studying, what we are reporting in that sense. So this brief, really brief overview aims to give you some ideas. Obviously, you have then in the future the time to try immediately what are obviously these models, and particularly what are in that sense all the tools. I think I can leave the floor to the colleague Federico that I can see here connected. Obviously, we are here, so if you have then any questions, we can address also later. Thanks for your attention, and Federico, please.
Thank you very much, Davide. I think I can try also to address in a different manner the question by Francesca, if I'm not wrong, because our aims today is to present a different way in which you can represent social impact measurement. In particular, one of the most challenging activities that we are facing doing social impact assessment is to report the information. We know that there are so many different stakeholders that can be interested to the final results. And in particular, we can have maybe governance of the corporate who can be interested in reading about social impact assessment of the organization. On the other side, we can have, for instance, just a casual user or a casual knowledge of the company. Okay, I was just reading the chat, sorry. So basically, what we are witnessing in some way is that conventional impact reports looks like a static visualization of the company, while social impact, just for its definition, is something that continue moving, continue changing. So we would like to represent in a different way. So this is just the first pillar. Try to represent in a different way impact report. Second point is related to tables and figure that conventionally are used, that maybe can also be misleading for casual users, for people who have who are not so experienced about the social impact. So we need to find another way to represent social impact. And doing our research activities, we were stimulated by these questions. And in particular, we found several times, we found ourselves in several times in the situation in which we don't know how to aggregate data, we don't know how to integrate data, and we don't know how to display an overall visualization of the company. So we have some questions and we try to address some questions. And in particular, what we would like to express today is to find new solution. Basically, we would like to integrate social impact assessment and intend the social impact assessment as an information system. In particular, we try to conceptualize the social impact assessment as a complex set of information and try to explain in the best way that we can what are the intentionality and the main scope of the company in terms of social impact. Now I'm gonna display you a case study, a specific case study that we faced. It was quite difficult for us to manage, and I will go in depth some circumstances, and I'll try to explain some issues that we had, because I just move. The case study is related to cultural heritage. In particular, we try to define social impact framework for a cultural company, let me say, a cultural organization that operates in Italy, but not just one site, with different headquarters. Okay, so we are talking about challenging in understand the metrics, in share information related to the data that we need. We talk about challenges just to let them understand what are the meaning of our research and how we will try to manage the different data. So in particular, this case study refers to a cultural institution that already operate within an ESG-oriented strategic framework. So we are not trying to spread, let me say, social impact culture within the company. They already have some milestone. They already have some pillars in terms of social impact and also in terms of environmental and governance, since the definition of ESG. So basically, we developed a traditional social impact assessment based on the theory of change. So trying to put together qualitative and quantitative data to explain the change that was posed by this institution in each site. Otherwise, we will find ourselves in a situation in which we just try to find some monetization from social impact. That was not our main scope. So basically, we apply theory of change to the company. We identify an international framework to be applied. In particular, we applied UNESCO 2030 cultural heritage is a proper framework that you have to apply just when you're talking about culture. Basically, is those metrics are prepared to evaluate a cultural institution. Doing that, we identify a set of indicators that we call it KPI in a traditional business way, but that basically we identify more than 100 indicators. Those indicators were refined, and in the latest version we have something like 82, 83 indicators, no more. We don't need it. They were too much, and in some way they cover the same topics, so we don't need more than 100 anymore. The data set itself were integrated also with qualitative inputs and survey-based evidence, and so all the contextual information also. So basically, we define a pattern that can be also replicate in why not in other cultural institutions. So what we are trying and what we will show you in a while is also the application of a methodology that start with the willingness to change the way in which we would like to report information and become in a brief a new way to express social impact itself. So I would like to try to go directly on the dashboard. We define this dashboard using Power BI. Working as a team, we define some indicators. Now I'm gonna move. Let me know if you can see everything, or let me know if there is some issue. Here you can see what is the framework. The framework starts from UNESCO, united with Sustainable Development Goals that we use as a language of social impact and as language for the impact itself. Sorry if you can read in Italian, but I would like to let it authentic to show you what is the final result. Basically, the framework defined for thematic areas. First of all is environment and resiliency. Second is prosperity. The third one is related to the knowledge and the ability. And the fourth one is related to the inclusion and participation. As you can see, near every pillar of the framework, we identified some SDGs that can be applied to explain some changes we did in that specific pillar. We can move to the second page. This is just the general framework to let everyone understand what is the main what is the main objective. We can move to the second page, and here we can see what are the boundaries of our research. So we can see specifically in which SDGs we have higher representation of data, higher representation of indicators. Specifically, we identify the number 11 and the number 4 as the most important for this evaluation. But basically, we can also see what are the specific characteristics of each pillar, specific feature for instance, prosperity. And here we can see that are specifically informed by the SDGs number 8. Moreover, we identify some specific SDGs also for knowledge and ability, and also for the inclusion area of our assessment. So here, what you have is not just an information in a traditional table. What you can see here is also a control dashboard. If you are in the governance, for instance, you can be really interested to see what are missing our assessment. We would like to focus a little bit more, for instance, on the first two SDGs, so we can develop other metrics to measure also these two specific SDGs. So that's basically not just a user-friendly way to show the information, it is also a control dashboard for governance. And it can also have a double value, because basically it should be applied not just for internal use, but also for external use. And after this, we can also measure the social impact with this impact radar. We can have two different kind of visualization. We can see what we can see is the real data of 2022, the real data of 2023, and the forecasting data for 2027 that we assume are the final results of our measurement, and also the scope of the institution. So, for instance, we can see how it's changing and also the level that this measurement reach. In particular, for environment, we can consider that we are already good enough in perspective for the SDG number 12. We can see how it changes for prosperity. For instance, we can see that we can have a different condition, and also for knowledge and ability, we can see what are the area of the institution in which we have to focus most. And specifically, we can move also in other way. So, for instance, we can just see one specific SDGs and have an overview, a complete overview, and to check overall the value of the social impact for the institution. The last let me say the last slide just identify in a different way with another social impact radar. Specifically here, we are not looking for what we already have done, but we are just we elaborate all the KPI in order to match the intentionality of the institution. And specifically here, we can see an overall of the level that they reach during the social impact assessment. We identify 5 different areas. In particular, we identify accessibility and inclusion as the first point. As we can see, the radar moving the same way. They reach at least 90% of level of their intentionality, their objective, their aim. In particular, once again, we can see displayed the SDGs can have the rule in some way of language to explain, to spread the knowledge related to social inclusion to all the people who are interested. Basically, are the language of explanation of social impact in this specific research. We can see, for instance, the changing also in territorial consolidation and expansion. That was one other target for the corporate, for the institution itself. And for instance, once again, here we can see that we have to do something different, something more, if we would like to reach the forecasted target of 100%. And here, once again, we can see different representation of SDGs. Talking about educational and training, we can see once again different demonstration. In particular, we cover 3 different SDGs, and we can immediately see that the main increase from 2022 to 2023 is related to the SDGs number 10, so reduce inequalities. And that's also a good way to have a look to the most covered area by the social impact assessment, and in the same way also it became a tool for the governance to change some perspective to identify new target. Talking about internationalization, we can see once again 4 different SDGs represented, and in particular, here we can see that for SDG number 9, sorry, we can have some work to do to reach our target. What is important is also to consider the amount of data that underlie this aggregation. In particular, for SDGs number 4, we have 70 KPI that are evaluated and that weighed for this kind of representation. The last one is related to digital development, let me say, in some way. And here we can see that they already worked a lot as institution on this target, but they have to do something different if they want to reach completely the digital development that they of their intentionality. So going back, what we have seen is a digital tool that can give the opportunity to identify different gaps into the institution and also to be a supportive tool for everyone who decide to have a social impact assessment to their activity. What is important to underline, and this is also our final remarks, what is important to underline is that all these digital tools and also artificial intelligence tools that were presented by Davide are all useful just if we have a solid theoretical base that underlie all the process. So specifically here, we have seen that to develop this dashboard architecture in some way, we define all our KPI adopting the theory of change. And in particular, we identify some specific area of interest. We go in depth through interviews. We go in depth also with some surveys. We go in depth trying also to normalize how different sides of the institution understand the data and also how they try to answer to our data requirements. So basically everything can work just if underlined by real strong theory. So that's why we need to weigh the two parts. But for sure, I think that in the next future, we're gonna see real different visualization, real different tools to visualize data and information. And so in some ways, the static report needs to be changed. And that's basically just one example of our research, and I hope it was useful. So thank you for having us, and we are open to all your questions.
Thank you. So we were just looking at the chat right now. I guess that you have already addressed most of the information, most of the question asked in the chat. The only things that maybe it's left, it's a couple more information about the your course basically. So how could they enroll? And I already wrote the email address that they should contact to ask any further information. But if you have some clarification about it, please feel free.
For sure, you can easily write the email to have all the details. Let me say just one important thing. Nowadays, until now, the course is just held in Italian language for now. So I don't know if it could be an issue for you, Anan, or not. But basically, until now, that's the situation. But please feel free to write down to the email, and if we have other opportunities also in English, we for sure can share with you other solution to go to study better, to go in depth the concept of social impact and all the theory framework that you can need.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank
so
you very
much,
much.
Federico. And thank you to Davide also. And so I see there is one more message. Yeah. Okay, I read it to you or to who of the previous speaker want to answer to it, basically, because I guess it fits to everyone. Like, it seems to me that the complexity of the exercise could increase. The skill of the team involved in the exercise need to include further specialists. How to balance this? It's from Anna, this question. I don't know who
Thank
wants
you.
to answer from the previous or the next speaker also.
Oh, I can try to give a brief answer, because you can try to innovate in some way the way in which you can have a data visualization just in the moment in which you already define the framework with the institution. So the first year was quite tough to define the data and how the data needs to be aggregated. For instance, how was the metrics to define some data. That was the main challenge for us. At the second year, we already define our borders, our perimeter of analysis, and so we can try to innovate in data visualization. Specifically, in our specific case, let me say, we don't need specialists. We try to improve this kind of skill, but for sure they can all this kind of data visualization can also create a new rule within our teams talking about social impact. That means that would be also a good solution to improve our teams, including people that have different skills from the traditional social impact assessment. I don't know if I was quite clear. Thank you, Anna, for the
Thank
question.
you.
Jacopo,
Thank you,
if I can
Federico.
add something more to Federico, I think that the problem of having specialists within the impact measurement process is traditional problem. I mean, we are talking about something quite complex, very specific, and as the financial statement of a company, you need some specialists that have to cover the topic. The idea is that through digitalization, AI introduction, integration, and so on, for the organization to reduce the burden of engaging specialists that sometimes could cost. So the idea is to make companies and organization more and more autonomous in managing at least the basic process, the basic steps. So the one that the organization can internalize, giving them outsourcing the, let's say, the assurance part or the most complicated part or the most strategic part.
Thank you, Gabriele. And
Okay.
I will say we can go on, and I will give you back the floor, basically. So the idea it's and there is one more question that maybe we haven't answered yet, but we will go into detail in a few minutes with your presentation, probably, because the question was to have some examples of difficult cases where social impact measurement or assessment has been particularly challenging. And Gabriele intervention is all about this, not only about bad cases or difficult cases, but about practical cases. And we asked Triadi, that he represents here, to tell us some story and case, basically work on case studies about digitalization and AI integration in the social impact. So, Gabriele, the floor is yours, please.
Thank you, Jacopo. So you should see my screen. Yeah. Okay. Very good. So just few words about Triadi. I'm Gabriele. I'm the general director of Triadi, which is a spin-off of Politecnico Milan, an innovative startup, a limited liability company, and benefit organization according to the Italian law. We are quite young. We are quite young organization. We are going to celebrate our third birthday the next February. But let's say that our roots lie in Theresia, the research center that you already know, that is within the management department of the School of Management of Politecnico Milano, where basically speaking, we built our methodological experience and so on. What we do in Triadi, let's say at least three different things for several kind of organization. So we work with asset managers and banks that want to integrate, measure, and understand better the impact that they generate through their investment. We work with traditional corporates for profit for purpose companies that want to better manage, understand, and maybe develop impactful project. And then, of course, we work with also not-for-profit organization, NGOs, foundation within the traditional impact measurement and management process, but also in trying to develop and shape their strategy toward impact. And we do it in three different ways. The first one is the part of advisory. So specific project developed for this kind of organization. There's also part of training. We burn from Polytechnic, from a university, so we still have this kind of needs to share knowledge with also our partner and clients. And then we have also sort of, let's say, tech hub. So we develop also project of digitalization and developing tools for the integration of AI within the impact measurement process. Coming from the topic, going to the topic of this intervention, just quick reminder of what is impact measurement and management. I mean, Caterina at the beginning already mentioned us what is impact measurement. So the idea to measure, understand changes that happen through thanks to activities, projects, and so on. So it's a matter of understand the value generated, the social value generated by an organization or a project. And here you can find the typical process that we developed during the years. So the objective definition, context analysis, sort of strategic alignment, and then the definition of changes, meaning tier of change, meaning impact value chain, meaning understand which are the short-term and long-term changes that you are going to generate. Indicator semantic definition. You want to measure that sort of changes, and data collection and analysis. You need data and you need to analyze them and then to communicate this kind of result. Just for those of you that never seen this kind of picture, at the top you can find the traditional impact value chain. When also the colleagues talk about tier of change, we were talking basically speaking about that. Output, outcomes, and impacts. Product and services, result and effects on beneficiaries, short-term changes, and long-term changes on community. And the challenge here is to understand how to measure and how to communicate that kind of changes. Some other challenges that we find also related to digitalization, introduction of AI, some of them were already introduced by Professor Calderini at the very beginning of this day. The first one is data availability. So let's say that you are able to understand and to frame, to develop your tier of change, then you need to measure it. And the problem nowadays is that sometimes, quite often, you miss data. So you need to collect data. You need to understand how to collect data about changes that we are going to see over time. So it's a problem of data availability. It's a problem of delay, time. And even when you have this kind of data, usually you have a spread information. You have some data that are in some Excel. There are other data there are in some report, other documents, Excel that are in the dashboard of colleagues and so on. So there's also a problem to collect, to put together the data in a sort of unique repository. Professor Calderini told you about data lake, okay? So a place where all the data are stored in some way. And then even if you have data, if you are able to collect them, there's a problem of quality. So it's a problem of to understand how to increase the quality of the data that you gather, how to increase the quality of this kind of data, also to help you to better manage them, to better analyze them. Think about that. One of the great challenges in impact measurement is to manage, understand, and prepare the data for the analysis. Then you have two other kind of problem. The first one, already mentioned in this morning, accountability and data assurance. You collect data, someone gives you some data, and then you need to be sure that that kind of data are accountable, and also the results that are communicated are true, are solid, are robust, and so on. There's the problem of cost and lack of knowledge, and which is linked to the previous question. Of course, traditional impact measurement process sometimes, quite often again, is quite costly for organization, even because it requires very specific competencies and very specific knowledge that typically are not in the organization. And requires also time, which is again cost for the organization. And finally, there's a problem of how to really use data and results. Federico talked about us about how to report the data, how to share the data, how to share the results, something dynamic, something that you need to understand also to manage your organization, your activities, and so on. And when you have static results, static reporting, the problem usually is that impact measurement and management is just an exercise and not a real management tool for the company. Now, what has been done so far to digitalize, to introduce technology, and to overcome this kind of problem? There are some traditional solutions. Davide talked about us, again, the different kind of typical solution that can help some step of impact process measurement. Let's say, basically speaking, data collection and analysis, and in some way communication. Okay. The good thing is that usually this kind of tool are cost effective. There's high flexibility and low barrier to entry. I mean, basically everyone has Excel in on their laptop or Google Sheets, but also about Google Form, it's quite easy to use and so on. But there are some cons. So using these kind of tools in a separate way, in a not integrated way, can generate data silos. So data separated and so on. Manual error, you need to check and then you need to report, you need to input data manually, and so it increases the probability of error, and then limited qualitative analysis. These work very good when you need to collect hard data, quantitative data. This work not so good when you need to also work with qualitative data. and you need to analyze maybe interviews, videos, and so on. And here we will see in one of the cases is one of the scenarios where AI can really help and can really further improve impact measurement. Now, with AI, LLM, generative AI, and so on, we have a further booster. I don't want to waste your time on this. David already told us about this kind of tools. But the idea is that building on that, nowadays we have two kinds of solution. Digital solution, more or less AI integrated to support the impact measurement process. The first one are, let's say, optimizing solution for specific stages. So we have solutions that help organization to better define their changes, so to better build their tier of change, autonomously build their tier of change. And SOPACT developed this sort of SOPACT Copilot for impact and sustainability that, basically speaking, help you to go through the tier of change, suggesting different outcomes and impact and so on. And then you have tools that help you to better collect, analyze data, and also communicate them. Notebook LM is one of these books, but we have a lot of them. Here you can find just an example. That's just a problem with this specific tool that typically are not designed for specifically for impact measurement, usually are designed for general use. So you need to adapt it, and it is costly, and you need experience, you need knowledge to adapt to an impact measurement process. But then have been developed also platform that try to cover all the process of impact measurement and also to improve and allow the management of this process and its communication. Let's say that we can see that there are more generic, sustainable ESG platform that help to gather data, to manage the data about sustainability topics. Not really interesting for our use when we talk about impact. They're limited to the sustainability topics and so to output and some other compliances aspect. On the other hand, we can find tool and solution that are going strictly directly to measure the impact of a project, of organization, or so on. Here you can find two examples. One of them is Clarity AI. The other one is the Upright project that try to automatically, let's say, measure the net impact of an organization. And so they are able to give you, in a very automated way, a result. Problem is, they cost, okay? And they don't help you to really, really integrate impact measurement and management in your organization. And then there have been developed different platforms. So basically here you can find the most famous platform that have been developed in order to integrate and to help organization to go through the whole process of impact measurement. The most of them are international one. Here you can find also an Italian platform, which is Impacta, developed by TechSoup, that helped to build a sort of framework, digitalized framework, the impact measurement framework, and help also to improve the data gathering process, the data analysis in some way, and also the reporting part. Pro and cons also of this solution. Let's say that pros are data centralization. So thanks to a platform, you can overcome the problem of having separated Excel on your folders. Okay. If behind that kind of solution, there's also a great, robust methodological work, then you can also allow a methodological robustness of the whole process, which is digitalized, so it cannot be in some way changed. And then you can have also a sort of automated reporting. And it helps you also to give information, to provide information to the management of the organization, not only to the other stakeholder, external stakeholder. Okay. What are the cons? There's a problem of standardization and flexibility, of course. And this is one of the main concern about the digitalization of process, generally speaking. Because when you digitalize something, you have some boundaries, and so it's difficult to also be flexible. Now, let's say that what we are seeing nowadays is that AI is trying to unlock this problem. And so it's trying to also allow better flexibility also in this kind of platform that can be better shaped, can be better adapted to the different context. But nowadays it's still a long shot. There's a problem of process integration and a learning curve. I mean, we are talking about digital solution. I think that we know the typical level of digitalization, at least for the Italian third sector organization with their work. So it's a problem of learning curve in order to, again, make them autonomously in the management of their impact. And there's a problem of integration with a different process. So at least at the beginning, there's this barrier that can make difficult the adoption of this solution, this platform. Now, I think that we can go directly now to the case study, unless there are some questions so far. I forget to tell you to share with you some rules. I mean, please feel free to intervene. Please feel free to ask questions in chat, but also if you want to open your mic, intervene directly, it's good for me. I mean, we have, I think, just half an hour, and so make it more interactive as possible if you want. So case study, but before the case study, Jacopo remember me that there was a question from Francesca, which were if there are cases where social impact assessment or measurement has been particularly challenging. We need to define where the challenge stay. I mean, within the process. I think that we can define two different kind of challenges. Let's say three. But mainly the first one is within the process of impact measurement itself. Okay. And here the problem is I have to measure outcome or impact that are quite difficult to measure because are very qualitative, because are very complex. And so I need also to build a methodological framework that is very complicated or quite complicated. With Triadi, we analyze the impact of a project about mental health. And so there was a sort of counterfactual analysis with also some other econometrics analysis. And there the challenges were about the difficult to measure the impact themselves. So how you are able to measure improvement in mental health of people and to, let's say, monetize them. Okay. And with the counterfactual analysis, there was also a problem of data gathering. There was a problem of computation, a challenge of computation. Within that very project, we analyzed something like 2,000 of questionnaire. And so there was a problem of analyzing, systematize them, and so on. There's a problem of complexity of what you are going to measure. We see in the first case, I mean, it's different to measure a single project than the impact generated by a whole organization that manage a portfolio of different projects. Okay, maybe also in different areas. And so you need to build a framework that is agile, that is applicable, but also meaningful for the organization. And then there's a challenge of digitalization. It's quite easy to digitalize a single step. There's a problem. It's a little bit more complicated when you want to digitalize something more complex. It's even more complicated when you want to introduce also the different mechanisms of governance, accountability, data assurance, and so on. So let's say 3 different types of challenges. I think that we can see all of them within the case study. So the first one that I want to share with you is a project that we are developing with a third sector organization, which is La Rotonda, which is a third sector organization operating close to Milan, in a particular context with let's say with a lot of rate of migration and so on. So there's poverty about education, problem of need, and so far so on, and they try to address with their project all these different kind of problems. So they have projects related to young people, children, and young adults that goes to school, and then they have projects dedicated to family, dedicated to people that have no access to the to work, to the world of work. So they train them and they try to include them also within jobs and work. They have also some projects that are dedicated to people that have simply a problem of poverty and also a problem of housing. So as you can see, a lot of different kind of topics of areas of intervention. And with La Rotonda, we started a few years ago measuring single project. So we're starting from the evaluation of single project, traditional single project, let's say offline. So with the traditional tools, PowerPoint to share information, questionnaire with Google Form to gather data, and also Excel database in Excel to collect, to store the data, to analyze them, and also to give them all the different results. And then one day we started this such amazing process of digitalization, not of just one process, but the digitalization of the whole framework of La Rotonda. So we started with the first challenge, understand the impact of the organization. So it's not the impact of a single project, quite easy to understand. It's a matter of understand all the different connection, all the different aspects, all the let's say different outcome and impact that they can achieve, that they want to achieve, and that they are achieving through their projects and activities. And here you can find a single tier of change, which has been specifically designed for a single area of intervention, and La Rotonda has 5 different areas of intervention. So at first, we mapped the context and we mapped the value chain, the theory of change of the organization, mapping the different areas of intervention. And so traditional work, but multiplied by 5 for the whole organization. And within each area, there are different kind of projects. Second, development of KPI. And again, here you can find a traditional Excel dashboard. Very easy. Here you can find a screenshot about the output, but 5 different areas, let's say 10, 15 different kind of stakeholder. We try to group them in most relevant categories, but still different stakeholder that can be put in touch in a project that stay in the areas of education, but also in the area of family support, but also in other areas. Because if you want to measure the real impact, you need to look at the single person, but also the family and then the stakeholder and the community. And so we build the structuring frame, the framework that can support this digitalization. And if you want to digitalize your impact process, these have to be the first step. We see a solution that try to help also this kind of step. But the first thing first is to really analyze, really understand theory of change, data, and then you can digitalize your impact measurement process. You can digitalize the whole process. And this is what we have done, what we are doing. We started in 2023 analyzing the 2024 analyzing the organization, building the impact framework, validating with them, validating also the indicators, understand building the different data gathering instruments and so on. And then we started the process of digitalization. Now, has been easy? No. We are still developing them with another partner. And what are the problems here? Or better, let's start to the good things about this process and this solution. First thing first, connection of families and people. So the idea is that we want to understand the impact generated on the beneficiaries. Beneficiaries can be children, mother, father, families, and so on. So we built a multi-level categorization of the beneficiaries in order to have automatically something that without this kind of digitalization process could have been very, very, very difficult, and meaning the impact evaluation also on families, on group of families, on group of people that have connected with each other. So connecting different activities to the same stakeholder that is within a larger group of people. Here within the platform, they can also collect the data and put and let's say understand the results of their different activities, so analyzing the different outcomes. But this is also a tool for the management of their own activities, so they can track, let's say, projects that they are doing in order to faster and make it easier the reporting to donor or foundation or some other stakeholder. They're able to understand how much their own work spend time in the different activities, so it becomes also a sort of management tool for all the different activities of the organization, not only the impact related one. Problem is too digitalize it, and so means standardize it. And so, of course, some peculiarity has been removed. And so, of course, if La Rotonda the next year want to introduce another areas, you need to again intervene on this platform and add something, change something. And one of the most difficult part here, but one of the most difficult part here was the first part that I mentioned to you. So the idea is to connect different person, different people in order to have, let's say, an overall understanding of their impact. So this is just one, the first case is starting from single project evaluation to the development of an ad hoc platform for data collection and analysis that actually become a management tool, a management platform for the organization in order to provide information, real-time information for their impact reporting and for the reporting to donors, public sector, and so on. The second, so this idea, the idea to develop, to have a platform for the management of impact has been also transferred to the finance sector, okay? So here you can find another tool that we have developed, another platform that we have developed, which has been developed for Cefea, which is Cefea Impact, which is an impact fund operating in Italy, specifically targeting third sector organization. And here we wanted to develop with them was a hub for the investor, a platform that allowed them to manage the entire process of impact measurement within an investment process, an impact investment process. So the first thing is reporting. And this platform nowadays is a hub for the investor where he or she can understand the contribution of its investment to the SDGs at first, but also to the impact objective of the funds. And so it helped the communication, reporting of the impact in a very quick way. Of course, again, also this platform has been built by a framework that has been in the traditional human-led approach. Here, still, we don't find a really strong integration of AI, but is a pure process of digitalization of activities. And so here, logic link, metrics, selection, and so on has been and is validated manually by the impact experts. But this tool can enable the collaboration between the investor and investee. So the collaboration between the two parties in creating the investment theory of change, the investment value chain, and also collaboration in the KPI and target monitoring. Nowadays, has not been implemented an AI system that retrieve automatically data from investee documents and so on. So nowadays, the results of the different KPI, the values of the different KPIs have to be put in input manually by the investees or by the investor. But the system allows you to also understand who is going to report what. And so improve also the ability of assurance and accountability. If you find, let's say, a results value that is not aligned, that can be where you can have some doubts or so on, you can find who is the person that input this data, and so to ask them to provide information, further information, documents to support the data, that results. so to provide evidence, ensuring data viability, and traceability. And most important things is, again, I want to stress this part, the collaboration. So basically, we are used to think about digitalization, digital program, and so on, tools as product that automatize something, that makes something faster, easier to do. But I think that especially when we talk about impact measurement, and when we talk about those areas, those topics, those cases where there is a sort of communication, collaboration, or confrontation between two parties. Think about investment process, investors, or also project that been funded by public sector or private foundation and so on. So there you have this sort of collaboration, the relationship between two parties, and the digital tool nowadays, digital platform nowadays can help also the collaboration, can enable the collaboration between the different parties, and can enable the collaboration also with the beneficiaries. And so you're able also to involve the beneficiaries within your own impact measurement process in order to shape maybe your impact value chain to better understand your impact, to really work within your stakeholder engagement, and so your measurement process. Okay, third example, I just have a couple of them. The third example is the representation. It's quite different from the other. Here you can find the adoption of AI, and here we can find the challenge of, let's say, analyze something that without AI could have been impossible to analyze, to measure. Here we are talking about the automatic calculation of synthetic impact indicator. It's a project that we have developed for a media company in Italy, in Europe, actually, that wanted to understand the impact, or better, the SDG alignment of their content that are very broad general content, okay? And let's say audio, video content, basically. So here we developed a tool, of course, the methodology behind, and then a tool that helped them to understand the SDG alignment, the impact, the awareness generated by their content, analyzing the content themselves. So we are not going to ask sample of people, hey, can you please answer me and tell me how much this program and so on increase your awareness about that kind of topics. But which means that if you have hundreds of programs, you need to make, let's say, hundreds of surveys, hundreds of analysis. But here we analyze the programs themselves. So we're starting using AI engines to traduce, to transcript, to go from speech to text, from video to speech, and then from speech to text, in order to have a document to analyze. And then with AI-powered methodology, we were able to identify the themes that are related to the Sustainable Development Goals, to the SDGs, using basically machine learning tools. And one of the other challenges that you need to keep in mind when you use AI, especially LLM or generative AI, is that you need the knowledge also to write the prompt the code, the command, okay? So if you are going to ask the AI basic question, it doesn't work very well. So if you want to use it in a professional way, you need to really work on the prompt, and that's what we have done here. So create a strong, robust prompt in order to allow us the identification of how much that program talk about that kind of SDGs. You talk about poverty or zero hunger. You talk about climate change and so on. Basically, it's what you can find here on the top. But not only. It's not enough to understand if the program talk about an SDGs, a problem, a challenge, but we also implement through the natural language process tool the sentiment and emotion analysis of the conversation of the program. Okay. So the idea is to understand not only how much you are going to talk, you talked about the topic, but also how, in which way, in a positive way, in a negative way, in a complex way, or in a very easy way. And we were able to do that just because we implemented AI within this process. And it was something that without it wasn't possible to do. Think about to translate all the different audio without AI means that you need to spend hour and hour to listen to or watch the videos and then translate all the different information and then analyze them. So you need to analyze, let's say, hundreds of pages of words in order to understand which are the elements that are that they talk about, and then you need also to reread the topics in order to understand also the sentiment and emotion. We've done that for the analysis of this synthetic indicator SDG awareness, but think about it when your organization, sector organization, have to deal with interview or focus group. And basically, there was a limit of interview that you were able to process. There was a limit to the focus group that you were able to process. And nowadays, you can increase that. You can increase the amount of interview, or you can faster the analysis process, which is cheaper for the organization. And so with this exercise, we wanted also to understand if really AI can help this kind of process, this kind of analysis, and the answer is yes. And then, of course, at the end of the day, automated analysis and visualization, real-time analysis. So with this solution nowadays, that media company can quite in real time analyze the programs, TV programs, and then understand how much they create awareness or how much they were aligned with their sustainable impact objectives, let's say. Now I want to talk with you about two projects that we are working on in this very month. The first one is a project that we are developing within Triadi. So after the experience that we developed with the previous one, we started to develop our own internal, let's say, AI tool in order to make easier and enable the at first the tier of change analysis and then the KPIs definition, data analysis, and reporting. with the AI, with the artificial intelligence within the loop. So we started analyzing the standard methodologies that we developed, which is the one that you've seen at the beginning of this session, and we isolated the most frequent process, so the one that are most time expensive and recurring, okay, and those process that usually are cross-sector activities. And so the idea and the objective here is to automate, digitalize, speed up, and make it collaborative. This kind of process that usually has been done top-down. Okay. And so we work with the theory of change, to the theory of change, and here you can find, I'm sorry again, the screenshots are in Italian, but I hope that can also give you the idea of this process. This is still an MVP, so please don't look at the design, but the idea is to understand how much and if artificial intelligence can help this process, can be very a real support to impact measurement. And so here you can find a case, an example about a neat project. So a project of to prevent illegal school living and address NEET condition in Naples, okay, in a very specific metropolitan area of Naples. So the first part is the context analysis, and typically with the context analysis, you needed to understand documents, understand benchmark, analyze the problem, and so on. Interviews, the project logical framework, interviews with the clients, interviews with the stakeholders, and so on. Analyze them manually, and then try to create, to define outcome and impact. Here, the idea is that you can have in input the project description, documentation, all the different documents that are available, the interviews that you want to have with the partners, with the clients, and so on, and then have the AI to elaborate them, to help you elaborate them, and provide some suggestion about input, outcome, and impact that can be generated. Creating an impact value chain, the traditional impact value chain, that can be more dynamic, that can be more easy to show and to collaborate with the clients. Always something that David stressed a lot in the previous intervention, and I agree with him, with a human in the loop. This is one of the main rules in the use of AI. Human has to be always in the loop, so the AI can generate suggestions, the AI can generate tips, the AI can provide some information, but at the end of the day, there must be someone that validates that kind of information. And so this tool that we are developing can help, is helping the value chain construction, and then the generation of KPIs for each dimension. So KPIs that can be that can come from standard, from traditional KPI that organization used, from the KPI that have been used for other project that been typically used for a project in the same area, and so on, and then the monitoring part. So basically, it's the building of the whole management process, measurement and management process enhanced with AI. Okay, and this is something that we are working in these days within 3D. But last but not least, the last example is another work in progress. bigger work in progress, as clearly with a consortium of a lot of different partners, among them Puttino and Theresia and some other university and so on, and impact investors. We started in May 2025 this project that has been funded by the European Social Fund Plus with a specific objective to create an impact rating organization and impact rating platform. So the idea here is to create a new standard for impact intelligence and to allow and to unlock the potential of social economy and impact investment in Europe. And so the idea is that thanks to let's say an AI-powered data system to generate something that can really help and allow the growth of impact investing in Europe. And I think that there are four main elements here that I want to highlight to you. The first is the methodological innovation. We see a slide about that, but the idea is to take the theory of change in order to overcome the traditional ESG rating model criticism and to create something that really provides you information about the outcome level impact generation of organization. The other objective is to overcome the problem of data availability and data quality. So the idea is to create and generate a sort of data lake in order to better manage and to centralize, to collect all the different information, quantitative, qualitative, that all the first sector organization, profit for purpose organization, purpose entities, social purpose entities can generate, can provide, also in a not very structured way. So delivering lasting results. So at the end of the day of this journey, there will be an independent market-based organization that deliver these impact rating tools, these impact rating activities with a radical approach to impact. So the idea is to take impact as Caterina mentioned at the beginning, additionality, measurability, and put them in a platform and a rating score, an impact rating score, with this three main block. So nowadays we are working on the impact rating methodology. So the design of methodology of the score, the impact score, one of the great challenge of this project. And the second great challenge of this project is the generation then of the impact catalog and the impact data lake. So let's say an impact catalog, so a sort of collection of different impact databases, so data related to impact value generation, sustainability, every data that an organization can provide, and that have to contribute to the definition, to the construction, to the building of an impact data lake, where, thanks to the methodology that is going to be developed, the organization will be able to assess, to understand the impact, the actual impact generated by the project or the organization, but also the possible future impact that can be achieved thanks to the investor, and delivering it in an impact rating platform that is going to work in the European market at least. Now, I try to provide you some different cases in different areas, from traditional third sector to impact investing, but also some very specific projects where we tried quite successfully to implement digital solution and AI. Just to give you an example of the potential application of these tools and this solution. I don't know if there are any questions, sorry, curiosity or whatever you want to ask. Otherwise, I will leave the floor to Jacopo.
No, there shouldn't be
Okay.
any, and we are running a little bit out of time also. So I will leave the floor to Francesca Oldani from Fondazione Piemonte Innova to wrap up the session. And on my behalf, thank you to everyone.
Yeah, thank you, Jacopo, and thank you to speakers, experts, professor, and participants. Just few words about upcoming opportunities and workshop. As you can see in the slide, there will be a transnational event in March, but this one is already that has been already the registration are stopped because usually we have a call for application like 2 months before, 2 or 3 months before, and so that is this one. It's over, but there are still other workshop, a transnational event in April. That is online, another one in May that is in person, Gothenburg, and then the final one in Brussels. For those in person, there will be a call, a lunch, and a process for registration and for financial support to participate. So you are more than welcome to apply for this, and of course for the online one too. Will be shared with all of you by email the link of the website and also link for to see the programs and the capacity building workshop forward. Then please, Jacopo, the next slide. Jacopo, Alicia, sorry, or Jacopo, next slide. Okay, thank you. So if you have just like 2 minutes to give us your feedback about today, and we also put the link in the chat, I think. And of course, also the QR code and the link will be in the email that we will send you afterward. Also with the slide and some other information about the workshop. If you have some question about the Do Impact project or next workshop, we have maybe some time while you fill the feedback, the form.
In the meanwhile, there was just a question for Gabriele.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's still with us. They were asking if the results of the project will be shared and free to be used.
Yeah, I was going to answer in the chat, but Anna, if you refer to Adultim, yes, we are okay. We plan to finish, let's say, to launch the platform in 1 year more or less. We started in May, so the idea is with 2-year works to launch the platform, and then there will be this independent organization that will provide and manage the platform. We are working on the business plan, of course. It will be an independent economic company, but the idea is that there will be a first step of information and results about the the impact generation, impact value of organization that will be free to market, let's say, and then for the impact investors, sustainable investors, and so on, or who wants to have more information, etc. There would be, let's say, some other kind of pricing offers and so on. But yes, the idea is to provide information free, available for the market, for all the social economy purpose organization and so on. And the name of the, then you will have the slide, so you can also follow the projects on the different social and website where they are going to provide information on how we are developing the methodologies and so on.
Would you be or another partner be available to present the results or the development of the project to a group of advisor dealing
Yeah,
with
of course.
social companies? We are supporting the Enterprise Europe Network as from Commission side, and there is a group active on social business, social economy, and I think it will be useful for them to at least be aware that
Yeah.
they're moving in this direction, that they cannot stay sleeping on the traditional way of supporting company, I think.
Of course. It's a pleasure. So you
I
will
can
find
contact, I
my
can contact.
contact.
Yes.
Yeah. You can contact me. You can find my contact then in the slide, or is gabriele.cuzzetti@triadi.it. Very easy, and we can be in
Okay.
contact. Like yeah.
Thank you. Grazie.
Yeah,
You're welcome.
sorry, just to give you a note, in the feedback, if you fill the form, there is also a part where you can ask to be in contact with some other organization that were participating or entities. So feel free to write it down also there. Thank you. Okay. And I want also to underline that for us, the feedback is very important also because, of course, it's an European project, so it's financially support, and then we need also feedback to improve and to prove something. Okay. I think the workshop can be over, and I hope to see all of you to other workshop and events. And of course, we will send you also emails with everything, so you can subscribe to our newsletter or follow other workshop and everything. Thank you to all of you.
Thank you to all the speakers,
yeah.
and we hope to see you soon.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.